What's going on, everyone? Welcome on into the video. We are talking the Parabolic SAR indicator here today. We are looking at Apple. We're going to use Apple as our example. We'll go back over time. We'll show you some different time frames, how this indicator works, what you need to understand, what you need to know about it, and then how you can apply that to your own trading. Because actually, it's an indicator that I think a lot of people don't even know what it is or overlook, but it's actually a really good momentum-based indicator, especially when stocks are making moves that you don't understand to the upside or to the downside. Well, we can use this indicator to get a really good feel for when that trend, when that momentum move breaks, and when it's time for a reversal. And depending upon how strong of a move, how long that move has been, these reversals can be very, very lucrative. Also, a great indicator that you can use for trailing stop losses and things like that to tell you, hey, I'm already right on this trade. I'm letting it go. I don't know how much longer the stock is going to keep going. It's already hit my targets, but I do want to stay along for the ride if it wants to keep going. So it's a great indication or a great indicator to use for that purpose. Okay, so we're looking at Apple. We're on TradingView. There'll be a link in the video description box if you want to check out TradingView and follow along with us. I would highly recommend that. And you can do so. They have 30-day free trials. They even have free versions. So all that great stuff you can do pretty much for free right now. So up in the top left here, we're going to go to the indicator tab. And right here, I'm just going to start typing in para, and then you're going to see the top two, Parabolic SAR, not the strategy. We're going to go with the SAR. So if I click on this, it's going to add it to my chart. You'll now see some blue lines. We're going to go back and edit this in just 1 second. But really quick, if I hover over the Parabolic SAR and I go to this little question symbol, I mean, guys, if you don't know, if you haven't seen this, or if you want to get TradingView literally just for this purpose to understand some of your indicators, like very, very in-depth, this is amazing. So I'm not going to read this line for line, but essentially what we're going to kind of do is we're going to kind of walk through how we can utilize this in our own trading and some examples. But if you want more about the history, the official definition, well, it's going to be right here, and you can do that for essentially any indicator that you want to on TradingView. So a couple things. We're going to go with the default settings. So the settings that they use here, we're going to use those defaults, and I would highly recommend you do so if you're using this for the first time. Then the best way to utilize this is to see how the defaults work and then make adjustments as you see fit to match your own style and to match what you're noticing in the markets. Because maybe right now the defaults are actually working just fine, but maybe in a year, in 6 months, you're noticing that trends are changing faster, or we have stocks making more sustained moves, and you want to tweak these indicators just a little bit. It could be worthwhile. So we're going to go ahead and do this. But really quick, what is this Parabolic SAR? Without reading line for line from here, I'll explain that. So what we're going to do is we have it now pulled up on our chart. It's these blue lines. I'm going to go edit this. Let me actually go do that right now. So I'm going to go to my SAR, SAR, and I'm going to go to the settings, and I'm going to go to style, and I'm going to change this. Let's see, maybe white. White kind of looks, yeah, white looks okay. We'll use white, and I can make the dots a little bit larger, which maybe you want to do. I'm going to go with this third setting right here. That seems like it's a good thickness for the SAR indicator right now. And I can change them from these little crosses. I can change these if I wanted to. I'm going to leave them. You can make them circles if you want. Maybe that works best. I think that circles are pretty good. So I'm going to use circles and utilize that right there. So SAR stands for stop and reverse. That's what SAR stands for literally. Okay, so these white lines, they might be a little complicated if I have other indicators up. So let me get rid of some of these other indicators. So we're literally just looking at the SAR. Okay, now we have it pulled up and we are looking at these white lines, and we're looking at the 1 year, 1 day chart. If I was to go back into my SAR on the top left and I was to go to the settings again and I go to inputs, see how it says time frame chart? This is going to tell me, whatever chart I'm on, it's going to automatically add in the SAR indicator, the Parabolic SAR, for that chart time frame. So if I'm on the 1 year, 1 day, great. If I'm on the weekly chart, if I'm on a 1 minute chart, it's going to automatically adjust to my time frame. Maybe you only like to use this on big picture or even let's say short-term charts. Then set that to what you want. Okay, at the end of the day. So I'm going to leave it there as chart. Again, we're going to leave these as the default settings, okay? And now what we have is the Parabolic SAR pulled up. On the right-hand side, you see the volume right here. That is the volume profile. We have a video literally from a few days ago, if you want to go check it out, in the indicator playlist or back on the channel from a few days ago. If you're watching this video after the fact, just type in volume profile on our channel search and you'll be able to find it. It's a very, very good indicator to use. Highly, highly recommend that indicator to add to your own trading arsenal. Okay, so Parabolic SAR is in. Let's talk about some of the downsides here, because now you can kind of see as we zoom ourselves out, you can kind of see how this works. Downsides. Why is this a bad indicator? Well, you can kind of see how there's lines below, lines above, and there are points in time where this indicator is very choppy. And it's like, oh my gosh, what do I even do? Because within a couple of days, it seems like the trend's reversing and it's reversing. And it's very difficult to kind of get a feel for, where to put stops, where to do this, where to do that. So I would highly recommend that we take this with a grain of salt, right? It's not an indicator that is always going to be your buy signal or your sell signal, your short signal or this or that, but it's a great tool, again, to add to your arsenal and to use, especially for momentum movers. And I find this actually could be a really good play or a really good indicator to use in momentum sectors. For example, if you're watching, let's say, XLE right now, I'll show you guys what I mean. This is the energy sector. Well, what are we noticing right now, guys? The energy sector was so hot for so long. But look at this. If you were to use the Parabolic SAR, which we'll now dive into in a second of kind of, okay, how would we use it? What do we do? When do you take your profits? When do you get out? When do you go short, right? Well, if you were to use this, you potentially could have capitalized on a lot of this upside move on XLE, on energy, which was really big, right? From, let's say, from the mid to upper 70s all the way up to the low to mid 90s. And then you would have gotten taken out, or this indicator would have told you it is time to get out right in here, up around 89 to 90 bucks. So let's say you waited a day or so. You still would have got up to the 87. So you could have rode this for over a 10% gain. And that's just if you were to play shares, not even options or leverage or whatever. But that's showing you the power of the Parabolic SAR. So everyone's like, oh, you look and listen to the CNBC, you listen to news, and you're like, oh, well, oil energy is ripping. And guess what? It was. But the backside has come, and it's come fast. And if you are slow to adjust, which many times, if you're following mainstream outlets or you're following the crowd, you're following other traders, many times you're going to be slow to adjust. And now all of a sudden you could give back all of those gains on a stock or on a sector or on a play on an ETF like this in a couple of days, just like that. So the Parabolic SAR is there to help you in that situation. Okay, so we're looking at XLE. Let's use this because it's actually been kind of good as of late as a trend, right? So when we have these dots below, what that's telling us is that we have indicator below, right? Essentially our chart or our candlesticks. When we have those levels below, that's telling us to be long, right? That's essentially saying we have positive momentum to the upside. And when they are now above, we're in a downtrend and we have, negative momentum. We're kind of moving to the downside, right? So that's how we can utilize this indicator. And it's not perfect, right? If we see a lot of chop, but again, this was quite choppy from March into May, right? See how there's a lot of chop? It would have been pretty difficult to make a lot of money in this situation. But if we were to follow this indicator and you look back, well, maybe if I, saw this thing going from these lines above, the dots above to below, I saw a reversal right there. Well, I could have entered long in this area right in here. And yeah, I guess I could have made a few bucks until the short indication popped. But then we had a big backside day. So I ended up, pretty much getting out the same price I got in. So it really wasn't the best indication, especially in choppy environments. So that's why it's not the end all be all. It's not the only indicator you want to use, but across big trends, or if you're looking for a short setup or you're looking for a big reverse setup after a big move, that's where I think this is the best place. That's where the best use of this indicator comes in. So what I'm going to do is, let's say I was watching XLE and I'm like, yeah, man, energy's been super strong. Oil's been so hot, but I don't want to jump in front of it. I don't want to jump the gun. I don't want to start, entering short here before we see any kind of follow through, before we have, confirmation of a backside. Well, guess what? You wouldn't get the top. So I wouldn't go short at 93, right? I wouldn't be able to do that, right? I would not know that. I would know that after the fact, that's the top, but I wouldn't know that in the meantime, right? I could speculate, but again, that's not really a great trading strategy, right? That's a hunch. So what I could do here is if I waited for this indicator to reverse, right? So from these dots to go from below to showing kind of support below my trend before my momentum, right? To now all of a sudden we have kind of resistance, or they're really showing a trend change where now the dots are above and they're kind of guiding us to the downside. Yeah, maybe I would have gotten in short on this day or even on one of these days right here. But that said, I still would now have, right, from where is this, like 85 all the way down to 72 now, 73. I would still be just fine in terms of my momentum, and I would have made, more than $10 downside, so over 10% return there in just a couple of days by following this indicator. So what you want to look for is when we have a reversal in the indicator, when the dots that we're using right now, or whatever you're using, let's say I want to change this. To be honest, I might actually go ahead and do this right now to show you guys. If I go to style and I go to these little dots right here on the right-hand side, I might go to a line. Like I might like looking at a line. I might looking at a line with breaks. I might look like looking at, let's say, an area chart. I mean, that's actually pretty nasty. I would never do that, to be honest. Columns, that seems like it's not as helpful as it could be, but maybe I like to look at the line, or I like to look at, a step line or whatever, right? The line might be helpful. So let's go with the line. Maybe I like to use this. And so I'm waiting for a reversal in the trend when the slope is from positive to negative or from negative to positive. That's where I take my entries. It can be very, very helpful and very, very useful. To be honest here, guys, I actually like the dots. So what I'll go ahead and do is I'll go back to the circles. And what you could do is, all you want to do is just increase the size, so I can go and make them a little bit larger so that it's a little bit easier to see. If I make them really, really small, then it becomes a little bit harder to see, but maybe that keeps the chart very, very clean. So it's up to you at the end of the day what you want to use. I'll go with the third setting right here. Works best for me. So that is essentially how you'll use the Parabolic SAR. Again, it stands for stop and reverse. So it's great for momentum trades. Now, if I was to go back and look at this on the S&P 500, really, really good, because we've, of course, been selling off quite a bit as of late, the past couple of months, really the past 6 months. So if I go back on this guy and I say to myself, okay, there has been a ton of ups and downs along the way, right? So it's not the cleanest of indicators, but in terms of a big picture approach, you might want to look at the overall markets, and you might want to look at like a 5-year chart or go out even longer than that. And now it kind of cleans it up. So what you're noticing as of late is that right after the pandemic, right, this Parabolic SAR told you to be long right down in here. And it said, don't stop until we got, a move essentially from, let's see, from where was this? From right in here all the way up, about a 25% move. Then it told you to go short, and you could have made a few bucks there. Maybe you did, maybe you didn't. And then essentially we've been long. Indicator has been underneath us as support. Really, if you go back in time from here, right, where is this? Take us back from essentially here almost all the way up through, the highs, right? So this is a great indicator to use on, let's say, the S&P or on, let's say, the overall market index on a 5-year chart, on a big picture chart. We're looking at, let's say, week to week. And what I would want to see here to essentially initiate positions up, down, short, long, is I would want to probably see 2 to 3 weeks in a row, or 2 to 3 indicators in a row below or above my levels. Of course, you can get stopped out and it might not be kind of a false indication right away. It's not perfect. And again, go back in time. Well, this short indication, it kind of worked if you were to nail the top and bottom, but big picture, for a swing trade, didn't really work out. But if you're looking at the big picture on a chart like this, it could be really, really nice to follow, long-standing trends. And as long as you're not seeing, multiple days or multiple weeks in a row of an indication shift, which we really only saw twice. I guess you had a third time right here. You really, if you were to follow, let's say, a 2 to 3 week rule, you would have gotten faked out once and twice since the pandemic lows. But outside of that, you would have been long, and you would have primarily captured a really large chunk of this move over, let's say, roughly a 2-year span. So that's really, really cool. And to be honest, not every indicator is perfect. That right there is pretty darn impressive if you ask me. So That's the Parabolic SAR for you guys. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section down below. Again, you go to the indicator tab, you type in Parabolic SAR, you start typing PARA, and you'll see Parabolic SAR. You'll pull it up on your chart. It'll come up on the left-hand side indicator section right here. I can hide it, I can view it. I'll go to the little setting symbol right here, and I can edit the settings that I want to see, what time frames, if I want to change time frames, if I want to change the color, the size. I'm leaving everything as default for this case, but if ultimately you use it, it works, doesn't work, whatever, however things pan out for you. And then from there, go and edit. Don't try to start changing things around unless you really want to follow somebody else who has, a specific set of, let's say, start, increment, or max values that you want to change and follow that exact person. Sure. But ultimately, right, this needs to be catered and customized to your needs and to how you see fit, which is the best way to use indicators in general. So any questions, leave them down below. If you want to go back and check out some old videos or some other videos covering other indicators, covering candlestick charts, covering a ton of stuff when it comes to TradingView, Webull, other platforms, highly recommend you check them out here on the channel. Lots of playlists, lots of free videos for you to check already. The link to TradingView, which you can follow along, will be in the video description box down below. Free trial or go with the free account. You can use, I think you can add a couple indicators. I think it's either 3 or 5 indicators for free. And then after that, you have to upgrade, but you can get a 30-day free trial to see if you can like it before you do that. So highly recommend that. Outside of that, thanks so much for watching. Thumbs up button, consider subscribing. Thumbs up helps the algorithm a ton. I appreciate you guys like always, and I'll see you in the next one. Happy trading.